well as project management. So just to share a little bit about myself, a very short intro. So my name is Maneesh, and about 10 years ago I had more hair on my head and I was as handsome as Mr. Earlier. So it was way back in 1993 that I started off with my career working with Larsen and Toubro. So L&T was a wonderful organization for especially somebody who's wanting to learn a lot of things on project management. It is one of the best organizations I would say to start working in. After working in L&T for about 5 years, I went on to join another organization which was Reckitt and Coleman, the guys who make Dettol, if you recognize that. Then after that, I went abroad for some time, did a management program with specialization in HR and project management, came back, and then I joined ST Microelectronics. And I spent about 14 years in ST Microelectronics. So over this 20 years of journey of mine, I was able to get experience both on the brick and mortar kind of projects and the IT software kind of projects. So I was able to see the two different facets of the world over there. And it was sometime in the year 2012 that I was supposed to go for a meeting in my campus, in my last organization, ST Micro. And when I entered the room, I found that I was possibly a little early for the meeting, as usual. Nobody else was there. And I sat in the room, I found there was a book turned upside down on the table. So I decided to pick up this book and I said, what is this? The title said, How to Mind Map by one Mr. Tony Buzan. And I was extremely amazed. I said, what is this concept of mind maps? I've never heard about it before. So I started going through that book, not realizing that over the next 1 hour, luckily or unluckily, nobody came for that meeting. The only meeting happened was between me and that book. And I finished that book in about an hour's time. I got so excited with the concept. In the evening, I went to the nearest bookstore, bought 3 more books on mind mapping, and that's how my mind mapping journey started. And one thing led to another. I started experimenting with this concept, right? The best place to experiment with a new concept is with your spouse. If it works there, it will work anywhere else. So first with my spouse, with my kids, and then I started using it in my organization. So, and we were all very happy with the results we were getting. So we said, fine, let's move ahead. I started doing small training programs on mind mapping inside my organization, and then one thing led to another, and finally about a year ago, more than a year ago now, I decided to quit my last organization and commit myself fully to this subject of mind mapping and project management. So that's how my journey has started, and this journey has brought me over here to another new areas. So let me start with my quick presentation. Now, not a very good slide to start with, but this is possibly the reality. This was a survey which was done by the McKinsey Group and the Oxford University, and this was a study of about 5,400 large IT projects. And in these IT projects, what they found is, so anyway, it's okay. So if you look at the figures over here, the total, out of these 5,400 projects, there were 45% of these projects which were having they were having a cost overrun, right? These were the projects which are having a cost overrun, 45% of them. There were 7% of the projects which were having a schedule overrun, and there were 56% of the projects which were having a shortfall in the benefits that they were supposed to give. Now, given this state of affairs, right, and additionally, another surprising thing that came out was that out of these 45% of the projects which were having this cost overrun, 14% of the projects actually threatened the existence of the organization. A project going so bad that it threatened the very existence of the organization. So they went deeper to understand what were the reasons why this kind of a scenario was happening with different projects. And some of the top reasons that came out were missing focus or unclear objectives or lack of vision in the project. And followed with other reasons like execution, etc., content, skill, and unexplained. Now, fine, whatever be the reasons, what we are finding is that somewhere, maybe our project management methodologies have failed us, because I'm sure given the fact that these are large IT organizations and they would definitely be using some kind of project management methodologies, maybe rudimentary project management methodology, but some methodologies would be existing. But some of these methodologies possibly have failed because if you're given something and you say this is a product which is going to help you 44% of the time and 56% of the times you're going to have failure with it, you will say this is not the right product that I'm looking forward to. Right? So there is definitely scope for increasing to have better project management in some way. And one of the key that I believe is that through increased creativity, we can have better project management, right? Now, creativity again is something has become like a buzzword, right? Sometimes these buzzwords can be really very irritating. I used to do a session sometime back in one of my organizations, quality for managers, and hardly anybody would come for that session. I said, "What is this?" And I was surprised. So we changed the topic of the session and we said, "Quick tricks for managers to become effective." Everybody came. Right? So same way, when we talk about this creativity, then sometimes people a little bit switch out. But yes, it is an important concept. But first of all, the need is that we should have some kind of a creativity enhancing tool, right? Something which is able to enhance our creativity. But before that, we should understand what is meant by creativity, right? Now, and even before understanding what is meant by creativity, we should try and understand what is the kind of environment in which we are living at the moment. All of you would agree with me that we are living in an environment where there is a lot of information overload happening, right? Yes. Now, as per different studies, right, 10 years ago, the information set of the world was doubling at a pace of 20 years. In the year 2014, the information set of the world is doubling every 2 years. Yes. By the year 2020, the information set is expected to double in 72 hours. Right? So this is the way the information is. Once upon a time, information used to be power, and then came Google. Right? They organized the information, they put everything into place, and now information has become a commodity product or a fast-moving consumer good. Right? And it's interesting to note the spectrum of people who are using information, using Google and all this. The other day, I was talking to my carpenter. I said, I need to design a corner cupboard. Please give me some designs on how to do it. So he says, give me 10 minutes time. There's a friend of mine who's very good at computers, and I'll tell you how we can help. I said, okay. After 10 minutes, he gives me a call. He says, do you have paper and pencil? I said, yes, of course. He says, write down. He says, I'm giving you an address, and at this address, you'll be able to get the design of the cupboard. I said, okay, good, tell me. He says, www.google.com. Right? So, we are living in a world where Google has organized the information from uneducated people to well-educated people, from small kids to elderly people. Everybody has been able to access information very easily these days. Now, but information itself is not sufficient. From information, you have to move to the next level, which is knowledge, right? So, what happens? Say I need to plan a trip to Jaipur, right, to do some sightseeing over there. I go to the net. I'm able to get information about the different places that are existing in Jaipur. And I also get reviews of people who have visited the different places. When I look at those reviews, what I'm actually experiencing is knowledge. A user who has experienced that thing and he's put his feedback over there. So from information, I've moved to knowledge. Now using this knowledge, not mine, maybe somebody else's knowledge, who's put review comments over there on different sites, I create my own trip, and that is where my creativity is coming into play. Okay, so the movement is from information, scattered set of dots, organized together as knowledge by some people, and then when we talk about creativity, you are working on somebody else's knowledge and putting it together to form new personal thoughts, right? So when we talk about creativity, creativity is nothing but the incubator and cultivator of new ideas which have gone from existing knowledge and combined to form new neural pathways in the brain leading to personal original thoughts. Right? Each one of us, we have some uniqueness or the other. Right? So when we are talking about creativity, creativity is nothing but being able to bring out that uniqueness to the subject with which you are dealing. Right? And suppose I give you a tool which would help you do that, would it not be interesting? Right? This is where the mind maps actually fit in. Okay. So let me ask you a question now. How many of you feel you are creative? Please raise your hands. Okay. So
can you creatively make out like who was originally creative?
Okay, we'll come to that. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that, so how many of you feel you are creative? This is for the camera. Please raise your hands. This time we're having more hands coming up. Okay, good. See, yes, usually about 50% of the people would say that yes, I'm creative, and then there are 50% of the people who say that we have some doubts about our creativity. Okay. How many of you were kids once upon a time? Right? No one. So when we talk about creativity, one of the first things that comes to our mind is little kids. Right? As kids, all of us were creative, and somewhere down the line something has happened and we seem to have lost touch with that creativity of ours. But still you would observe that there's certain moments in your life. I'm sure all of you are pursuing some or the other hobby. Okay, it could be reading, it could be cycling, it could be anything. When we are pursuing that hobby of yours, we seem to get little lost into that hobby, right? And we are totally engaged into the subject that we are working on. Whether it is sketching, painting, dancing, whatever. And at that particular point of time, when you are totally lost into the subject, you are totally engaged, you are possibly at your creative best. Right? Because you are enjoying what you are doing. And you are totally engaged in it. Right? So again, if you had a tool which would help you increase this engagement with whatever subject that you were dealing with, would it not be helpful? Yes? This is exactly where this concept of mind maps fit in. Okay. So what is a mind map? A mind map is a very simple thinking tool. Over the years, we have been taught to think in a linear fashion. Right? From one line to another line. When we are writing, we are reading everything, it's going from one line to another line. However, when you look at the way the thoughts form in our brain, right? The way the neurons are structured inside our brain, they are not in a linear fashion, they are structured in a radiant fashion. You have one neuron which has got a lot of branches like this that you see in this figure over here, connected to another neuron which has got other branches, all of them connecting together. Similarly, when we are thinking about any subject, right, we have a particular thought, we move to a second thought, from that thought we may move to another third thought, then we may come back to the original thought, and then we have more subjects. So it's like the reality is actually radiant, right? You have a lot of examples of radiant examples in nature. If you look at a flower, it's got a center, and then you have petals coming out of it. So like this, there are a lot of examples in nature which are kind of reinforcing this belief that the reality is actually radiant. So in the case of the mind map, we use a structure like this, where in the center you have the subject, whatever subject that you would like to work on, right? Whether it is for taking notes, whether it is for coming up with new ideas. And then from this main structure, in the center you make these branches all around it, which are these branches which we call as the main branches, right? And in these main branches, you start putting in your subtopics. Now, when you are moving in this fashion, then you are no longer bound by working on a particular branch in a linear fashion. When you may be working on a particular topic over here on one branch, you may actually be thinking, you may have another idea which may be linked to this particular branch. So you can jump from one branch to another, and you can just play around the mind map, and you'll be amazed by the number of ideas that you'll be able to generate. right? Research shows that our brain has been possibly designed to think in a radial fashion rather than a linear fashion. This is one of the reasons why if you have some of you having small kids, you will find that initially in the first standard and in the KG and all, when they start teaching them the letters, they have so much of problem writing between the lines. They will put anywhere, but the moment you give them a blank sheet of paper and you give them a pen, and you'll see the artist coming out in them moving in all possible directions, right? So a mind map is, a lot of people have been using mind maps. Millions of people across the globe have been using mind maps now for a number of different areas. There is the person, Mr. Tony Buzan, who is the inventor of mind maps. And through his research over the number of years, over 20-25 years on the brain, and the research continuing even further now, he's come out with some principles of mind mapping, as he calls it. And I'll just take you through some of these interesting principles that he's come out with. So this is an example of a mind map. So the topic is the principles of mind mapping or the mind mapping laws. So the first principle is that we have been taught to hold the paper in a layout mode, right? In a portrait mode, right? Throughout our life. So instead of a portrait mode, we hold the paper in a landscape mode. Okay, so put the paper in the landscape mode. Preferably the paper should not be having any lines on it. It should be a blank paper. Then we use lines to make these branches. Now these branches, the important thing is that these branches, they are not straight. These branches, they are curved. Curvy linear branches are there. If you observe this particular room or any conference room, you'll be amazed by the number of straight lines that you find in the room. Right? And the moment you go out for a walk in nature where there are no man-made creations, you will hardly find any straight lines. Right? And where do you feel more fresh? Nature. Right. So the brain, it has been found that the moment the brain has been exposed to a lot of continuous lines, it kind of puts the brain into a little bit of a sleepy mode. The brain is not attracted by straight lines. Okay. Next, we have words. We use only single words on the mind map. Now, if you would remember, if you would recollect that way back when you were in your schools and colleges, when you had long bits of notes with you, you would pick up certain words, you would take a highlighter or some other pen and you would highlight some key words, right? You were naturally using this particular principle that there are certain keywords that the brain likes to focus upon, and if it is able to retain those keywords, then there is nothing, then you are able to generate the complete text of whatever you are wanting to remember, recollect, or anything. Right? The next is your images. Suppose I give you two options. One is read this book of 200 pages or watch this movie of 3 hours. Which one will you pick up? The 3-hour movie, right? Why? It's easy to retain, it's more entertaining, right? Because your language of the brain is not words, it is images, right? An image is worth 1,000 words. Okay, so that is why we say we use images right throughout in the mind map. And if you look at the final structure of a mind map, right, is also in the form of an image only. Okay, so we have created an image, and then even in the mind map also we are using images at different places. Colors. Okay, so colors is another thing. What we found is that the color is having different colors are having different impact on the brain, and the more the number of colors you use inside a mind map, the more you get absorbed into the mind map, and the more you're able to generate creative thoughts. So we encourage people to use colors in the mind map by making a mind map. And the final rule is the structure part of it. Now, when we look at this mind map, what we may feel is that possibly there is no structure. This appears to be a little random and a little chaotic, right? But this is actually a balance where there is a little bit of chaos might be there, but there is nothing random about it. These are your thoughts which are getting mapped onto a paper in the form of a mind map. Okay. So this was a quick introduction on the concept of mind map, and then how do we use it in project management. Okay. So there are a number of ways in which we can use mind maps and project management. I'll just share one quick mind map of a project, the way it is used in project management, and then I'll show you some cases, real life cases, how we used them in different areas. So when we are talking about a project, right, at the start of the project we say what are the benefits that the project is going to bring to us. A lot of times when we are thinking in a linear way, when we're making our typical project charter, you may feel that the benefits that is coming is primarily limited to the customer or to the management or maybe to the team, etc. Just 2-3 stakeholders we are able to see. But the moment you try to map this in the form of a mind map, you will find that you will be able to come out with more number of ideas. And it is not limited just to the customer management team. There are some end users. There is your competition. You could be passing on some benefits to your competition also. There could be some other reasons, social, political, etc. reasons. All these reasons, they can be immediately mapped out to a mind map. The other important thing over here is that these mind maps, either you can make them individually or you can make them as a group. And when you make them as a group collectively, following certain steps, it becomes even more powerful. You're able to harness the collective intelligence of the people in a much better way when you start using mind map rather than using your structured linear thinking. Quick run through on some of the examples that we have from the industry on companies who have been using mind maps and benefiting from it. Boeing. Right? I'm sure all of you heard about Boeing. When you get into an aeroplane, you are relatively sure that you're going to land at the station, at the next airport, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Why is it so? The Boeing or any airline industry, what is the sigma level at which they're operating? Yes, somebody said 7. Yes, so it is operating at 7 sigma level, not even 6. Okay. So they're operating at 7 sigma level, and this company, Boeing, they've adopted mind maps in a very big way. What they did is they had continuous improvement projects going on. There's a program of continuous improvement projects, and they identified mind map as one of the tools in identifying their project and also executing some of their projects. And they used mind maps rigorously, and over a period of 2 years, they were able to save close to about $11 million from the different projects that they executed. And just to give you an example of one project that they did was that you have these new engineers who would be joining Boeing, and in these new engineers, they were supposed to go through a manual of about 1,000 pages, and typically in Boeing it would take them a year's time to get the new joinees introduced to the manual. They transformed their manual completely in the form of a mind map, and with that they were able to actually train their engineers in a matter of few weeks rather than stretching it over a year's time. Okay, like this there were other examples from them. So this is one example of a big company, how they've adopted mind maps. Another example closer home from Noida, there's a company by the name of Simon Technologies, and in one of the brainstorming sessions, what we did was, they said that fine, we have a product doing quite well in the market, HR module and HR and sub-modules existing for that particular software product, but they said we would now like to take it to the next level. So we did a quick mind map on their product. We did an analysis of their product to see what are the strengths and weaknesses currently existing with the product. And by doing that analysis in about half an hour's time with a team of about 15 people, we were able to come out with at least 6 projects which gave them direction on how to improve their product and take it to the next level. Another example, Nagara Software, a company based out of Gurgaon. I think some of you might have already heard about this organization. Here they had given a problem statement which was more an HR problem statement. And during the course of the workshop, the brainstorming session, what we realized is we had to redefine the problem completely. While making the mind map, we realized that there were a lot of gaps with the problem statement that had been originally given to us. So by the end of the workshop, what we had was a new refined problem statement, but now they were more certain on the directions that they would be able to take. And this was all using mind maps. ST Micro is the last company where I worked. So we had a task of developing a vision for our innovation abilities over the next 5 years. And we had close to about 25 people who were contributing to the team, and we got all these 25 experts into one room. Now, when you have 25 experts in a room, right, it was very difficult to conduct a meeting, right? But somehow, so initially we tried, and initially we did it without a mind map, and we did not come out, we did not get any direction out of it. Second time we attempted this particular meeting, collectively I made a mind map for all the people, taking their thoughts and immediately putting it onto the board in the form of a mind map. And immediately we were able to see that there were 5 areas on which we needed to focus upon, and we were able to get directions on the next steps that we were supposed to take and move forward. Another organization I met them recently when I was in Bangalore. There's an organization by the name of You at the Rate Work. Now, this organization is a startup organization. They're working on some project management software which can be integrated with your messaging email systems and all. And these guys, they said that we want things which can work without too much of documentation, and hence mind maps is the tool of choice for us. So they have a test plan which they have made, wonderful test plan, in which everything has been put in the form of a mind map. Okay. And they found that it's giving them really good benefit. They're able to get the speed that is really essential for, especially a startup to hit the market with the right product. For me, I've been using mind maps in number of areas. Definitely for my writing for a publication, and even for my book, I've used mind maps extensively. And in addition to that, I've used mind maps a number of times for taking decisions. About 1.5 years ago, when I started this process of trying to move out of my organization, I would go give my resignation to my boss. Next day, he would give it back to me. Then I would go give it back, and then he would give it back to me. It was continued for some time. So then, and I realized that there was some bit of a doubt somewhere in my mind also, which was kind of preventing me from moving out of the organization. So one weekend, I sat down. I said, "Let me do a mind map on this." And when I made that mind map, my decision was absolutely clear. I had the sufficient courage and the ammunition with me to move ahead. And next time I went, I said, "No, this time I'm not going to take my resignation back. Please, I have to move out of the organization, because now I'm absolutely clear about the path that I'm supposed to take." So mind maps have helped me even take such kind of decisions, and there are a number of examples of mind mapping, not just from these industries, from other industries also you can look at examples. A very quick introduction to the iMindMap, which is one of the software tools. There are a number of software tools which are available for mind mapping. You can choose whichever you want. This is one example just to show you the potential of these software tools. Now, initially when you're starting off with mind mapping, if you're absolutely new to mind map, I would recommend that you use your hand for drawing your mind maps first. Initially, after you've drawn maybe 5 to 10 hand-drawn mind maps, then you move on to the tool and you'll be able to enjoy these tools much better. So, a lot of organizations across the globe using this iMindMap, and typically, like in any mind mapping software, whether it is MindJet or iMindMap or lots of them are existing, you can check on the net, that there is this, you have this facility of creating new templates, branches, drawings. You can embed your notes into the mind map. You can embed audio notes. You can put hyperlinks. Then the best thing is that you, at the press of a button, you can convert all this in the form of a presentation also. So it becomes easier if you have your thoughts organized in the form of mind map. And then if you want, you can easily make a presentation also in the form of a mind map completely. Okay. To continue your journey, especially for people who are new to mind mapping, there are resources also available which can help you. One of them is this biggerplane.com, which is one of the biggest repository of mind maps. People all across the globe are depositing their mind maps over here. And in this, you will find mind maps for business, for education, for a lot of things. You'll be able to discover mind maps and the way people have been utilizing them. So whether it is time management, whether it is problem solving, or any issue, even test plans and all, you'll be able to get sampled mind maps from here. You just have to sign in, register, and you're able to get access to the complete library. In addition, the second resource, the book that I have written. So what I've tried to attempt is that I've tried to maximize and present the opportunities for mind mapping along the complete life cycle of a project, starting from the initiation to the execution to the closure of a project, right? So different opportunities existing, and anybody who gets the book, you get also access to all the templates for these mind maps which has been provided in the book, as a result of which what happens is, sometimes people have a little bit of inhibition in using these mind maps because it's absolutely a different concept. But with these templates, you can start experimenting on your own. You have some template to start with, and then with that you can move forward on the journey. So it becomes easier that way. That's it. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and open for questions at the end.
Any questions? No mind maps?
Yes.
Hi sir, thank you for the inputs around Tony Buzan's concept of mind maps.
Right.
Just a question, in the mind maps, the relevance of colors. So, I'm not sure as to how in project management it will work, but
Right.
otherwise the relevance of colors in mind maps, because
Yeah.
every color is expected to probably design something or a particular action, or can any be used?
Okay. See, typically in a mind map, what we suggest is that we use at least 3 different colors. Okay. The idea is that it's not a specific color that you're supposed to use, right? Any color would do, but the moment the brain sees different colors, it gets more engaged into a subject, right? The example that I was taking about, when you're taking notes and when you're highlighting something, you're actually using a different color. And the research, what it has shown at the moment is that when the brain is exposed continuously to the color blue or black, the brain again goes off to sleep. In the night, when you want to go off to sleep, what do? Switch off the light, right? And I'm sure all of you are aware about this word, monotonous. Monotonous, single color, right? So that is the reason we say we use different colors in mind mapping, but no specific color in context of generating certain thing. But any colors, any 3 different colors is what I recommend. The more the colors you have, the better it is. Especially when you're doing mind mapping with small children, you find that they can be really very creative with a number of colors. Now that seems to go down as you move forward. Yes, sir, please.
So, first of all, thank you, sir, for sharing this concept. So, well, we are trying to kind of catch up with this concept of mind maps. I think with every new concept, there is this bit of, you can say, doubt in mind that, like, where to stop, where to draw that line, where you feel like, okay, this is what I was looking for. So, start off, we all know that we have to start with a certain structure, choose colors, images, drawings, whatever.
Right.
But then, is there any fixed criteria where you come to know that, okay, now I have achieved what I was looking for. This is where I stop.
You are asking this specifically with respect to the mind map tool or any tool?
I mean, let's say I have a problem statement. I go for a mind map.
Right.
So,
Where do you stop in that?
yes. Where do I come to know that I have the best possible answer?
Okay. Right. See, no easy answer for that, but yes, what I can tell you is, the moment you are using mind maps, the moment you are more engaged into the subject, your probability of coming out with an answer at a faster pace increases. Okay. As against, when we look at mind map, it is fundamentally a thinking tool. Right? And anything which is improving your thinking would help you come out with answers faster. There can be situations where you have made a mind map and then you may discover certain unknown areas. You may discover that you still do not have sufficient information to be able to solve the problem. Right? And then you may have to go back, do some more research, get some more information, and then possibly draw a new mind map. Okay? So, like in any other problem-solving tool, right? In the case of mind map also, I think there is a point at which you yourself will be able to discover that yes, I have come to the end point, and now I think I have the best possible solution existing with me. But it's a matter of practicing. The more you practice with this, the more you would be able to train the neurons in your brain to mind map accordingly.
Last question.
I think I can ask. So is there any training that we, have to undergo before using this tool, or this is so user friendly that, I can just start and...
Yeah. Okay. See, the tool is very simple, right? When I say tool, I'm referring to MindMap as a tool. I'm not referring to the software. Okay. So MindMap as a tool is very simple, right? But still, a lot of times, let me give you an example. How many of you feel that going out for a walk in the morning is good for health? Please raise your hands. Right? And how many of you regularly go out for a walk in the morning? Still some hands are up, right? Now what has happened? There is a truth which is existing in front of you, and still we are not able to follow that particular truth. So sometimes it requires a little bit of additional reinforcement, right? Either you can be so self-motivated yourself to do a bit of research on the net. There's lots of information, anything you can learn from the net, and start using mind maps. Or the other way, the shorter way is possibly you get into a training program, and in that training program, when you get exposed to this concept, the motivation increases a little bit more to start utilizing the concept. Okay? Thank you so much for your time.